Well, hello. My name is Angela Hooper Minifield, and I am Chief Equipping Officer of Minifield and Associates. And today is Friday, May the 8th. Wow, 2020. And so today I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the feedback that I've been receiving from some of the managers, leaders, and whatnot through coaching appointments. And I'm hearing a lot about the difficulty it appears that some of their team members are having adjusting their thinking to returning to work. And with this lack of, mindset to resume back, some of it because of fear, some of it is because of other things. Some of the managers and supervisors are finding themselves highly frustrated and not exercising what I would call consideration or patience with people. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit today, in more of a coaching / HR perspective, is why things are like that and why perhaps people may not be adjusting the way that we think they should. So a couple of things that have come up in these discussions is that some employees are not performing to the same level that they used to in the work. Managers are therefore interpreting this behavior to suggest that maybe they're goofing off or that they are taking advantage of the organization. So let me just say a couple of things. One, I think in leadership, we have to always start off with the premise that we care about the people more than we care about the product, the process, or the profit. And so part of caring about the people includes the fact that we show compassion and we try to figure out what's going on. So one of the things that I typically offer in my coaching and training is behavioral assessments, right? And I don't call them personality tests. I know some people do. But what a behavioral assessment tells us about people is, how they're more inclined or not, or at a greater percentage of the time to respond and or behave due to particular environmental things, whether that's, who they are naturally, who they are in the workplace, at home. But the other thing that we can find out is how people perform under stress. And so in having this discussion, when you listen to leaders and supervisors talk about the fact that, Joe, for instance, in the past, when I gave him something to do, I didn't find that I had to micromanage him this much. So they're finding it frustrating and assuming again, or interpreting this behavior to be indicative of the fact that Joe is not engaged or not working or doing other things that are distracting him while working from home. So what we know is this, that oftentimes during stress, different characteristics in our behavior are more amplified than they are otherwise. So a perfect example would be me. When I am in my normal setting, I tend to like process, procedure, structure, highly analytical, ask a lot of questions. That's who I am because I want to know the why behind things. How do we do it? What's the best way to do it? What are the pros and cons? I mean, data. That's who I am. Now, how do I show up under stress? Under stress, I actually tend to shut down. And what shutting down looks like for me could be a combination of I don't ask any questions, I'm withdrawn, I'm reticent, I appear to be very unhappy. I also withhold. So if I have extra information that may help the project, I want to give it to you unless specifically asked, or, because in that moment, I don't feel valued. So I say all that to say a supervisor who would be managing me under a stressful situation may say, well, Angela is not doing her work because she's not participating. She's not responding to emails. I wonder if she's really working. No, if I'm stressed, I am just withdrawn. And then depending on the type of stress, if I feel like nobody else is taking over, I will go from the person who is an excellent follower, a great number two, to being the person that will take your meeting over. Because for lack of leadership, I will then step up. But it's not voluntary is more out of need or necessity because I cannot stand lack of structure, organization. So I say that to say, and I give you that quick example of me, is if you have an employee who has performed in a way that you would say is not their norm, could this be the way that they perform under stress? Like, what are the mitigating circumstances that are happening in their home right now? Now, I'm not suggesting we pry because there are privacy laws and things like that. But what we can do as a supervisor is talk a little bit about, what do we need to do to get the deliverable? And is there something that's keeping you from it? Be expressive and explain to them what you need from them in order to feel as if they're engaged. Don't assume if people aren't showing you their cameras, it's because they're not paying attention. Maybe they're embarrassed about what's behind the camera. Maybe what we can do is a quick video or tutorial and show people how to have virtual backgrounds so that if the background that they're living in or they have to work in is not something they want to show, they can still feel adequate and feel like they're stepping up to the plate like other people do. And the reason why I bring these things up is because we just don't know. Like, we don't know people's whole story. So whatever we can do to mitigate some of that and do it in a way that's not intrusive or requiring a person to share, the real reason why they don't want to have their camera on, I think it's a win for us. Now, at the end of the day, yes, if that's a necessity, we need to know they're there. We need to know that they're paying attention and they're engaged. Then again, this is a sidebar conversation and we need to figure out how do we get there. The other part of this situation is as we move forward to the new normal, right? So there's been a way that we've always done things, and now we're asking people to do things differently. So for instance, we have been delivering our services in a way that was very hands-on, personal, interactive, and we're basically asking our employees to navigate everything that they used to do in a face-to-face situation to a virtual platform. Some managers are finding some resistance there. So I just would like to suggest to you that there's a possibility that the resistance has very little to do with the fact that they don't want to do it. It's because it's too much ambiguity. So some of us, our safety blanket or how we perform best is we like security. And what we mean by security is we like to know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and how it's going to happen. And so now that we're living in times that are highly uncertain, this is causing some anxiety, stress, and frustration for our team. And so again, this could be why they have pulled back or they're not actively engaging or they're bucking everything that you're suggesting. And so, I use this as an analogy. If this is your foundation, right, and you've been standing on it for 10, 15 years, how you do what you do, this is your foundation. And then I show up today and say, okay, Angela, take everything that you know, ball it up, throw it away. What am I standing on? That's what it feels like to people who need that extra sense of security. Some of us are like, hey, opportunity to reinvent a new way. We're highly impulsive and spontaneous. We like change, and we've been wanting to make some changes. But for some people, this is very distressing. And so what I like to suggest to us is there a way we could look at as we're making the change, we make a change at a time. So if we go back to the same vision of this is the foundation, if we remove a few bricks at a time and then replace them with new bricks, guess what? As I stand here on these new changes, my footing has not been lost because I have some of the stability of what I used to know still there. So can we put a process, a procedure to how we implement these changes? Can some of them be implemented incrementally? Now, rest assured, when COVID hit, we all had to jump in and make some major changes. Zoom accounts went off the roof, right? Because everybody, or Zoom, WebEx, you name them, right? But everybody had to jump to something. And so some of these things were already, a big enough adjustment. But I think many of us went into this thinking that we'll go back to some normalcy. Like things will go back to the way they were, but that's not happening every place. There's a young lady that I work with and mentor in my HR mentoring situation that has been on her job for 60 days. And one of the things that's happening now is she went from being an on-site recruiter for a location of a customer service company to now, instead of being the recruitment manager for that location is going 100% virtual. And so she will be a regional recruiter for locations in parts of the country she's never been. And so this is a new norm. And when she shared this news with me this week, I was so excited for her, but I didn't hear excitement in her voice. There was fear, trepidation, because she was like, one, I'm still new on this job, but two, I don't even know the people that I'm going to be managing. And what we had to talk a little bit about was, well, guess what? The ones you're managing now, because she'll go from managing 2 people in a local facility to managing about 8 to 10 people in a region, but you didn't know them either at one point. And so again, this is where that patience, this is where that, let's be understanding that all of this change is happening really fast. And the other thing for her was, not only am I not going to work with these people that I built this relationship with and the only people that I know in the company, her whole job is going to virtual. It initially sounded like it would be virtual for the rest of the year, but now it's going to be permanently virtual, as in total change. So again, her angst, her fret is real because this is a new norm for her. She's never had to work in this environment before. And again, still in a probationary period on a job. So now together we'll work through this and we'll figure it out, and I'll help her navigate this terrain. But the point I'm making is, as supervisors, we sometimes expect a reaction or a response in a way that's different than what we get, because our expectation is people will respond like we will, or we know more information and have different facts, and so we expect them to feel a certain kind of way about something. So again, as leaders, as supervisors, as people who are navigating all the changes and talking to people about the way things will be, we just have to be cognizant that the way they perceive it and how they feel about it can be totally different than what it is for us. It's not indicative of that they don't care, they don't like it. It's just because it's new, it's different. Change is hard. It's hard for a lot of people. There's a reason why the books Who Moved My Cheese and all these other types of change management teachings and trainings are so prevalent, because if change were easy, people would do it more. I mean, think about it. One of my favorite sayings is, it's not so much that we don't like change, we don't want to be changed. And so when we make these major changes in people's jobs and how they deliver the services, it is an adjustment. And so if you know your employees, you can prepare how you deliver the change based on their behavioral styles, right? Again, the impulsive employees, the ones that, fly by the seat of their pants, they're cool with it. They're like, okay, let's do this. But for some of our employees, this is hard. It's stressful. It's a lot of anxiety, and we have to be patient with them. So one of my favorite sayings is, we meet people where they are. We don't try to make them be where we are. We meet them where they are. We're the leader. We're the one with the higher level of understanding, or maybe we're the HR professional that's delivering these messages to people. So the person with the higher level of understanding is responsible for the relationship. We have to slow down. We have to make adjustments. We have to message the changes in a way that brings everybody along. Now, at some point, I'm not suggesting we hold people's hands, but what I am saying is we're cognizant of the differences and we're empathetic to the impact that it has on the person. So many states are opening back up. I'm a big sports fan. I definitely know in some places, training facilities and things are opening back up. So we're inviting people back into the workplace. And what we're saying to them is, come back. We know you have some concerns, but come back. We're going to try to make things as safe as possible. But how we're going to do that is with a lot of change. And so sometimes, again, I'm guilty of it too, right? We think they should just be happy because they quote unquote have a job and not worry about the change, but that's just not the reality. It's just not the reality. So my plea to you all you professionals here on LinkedIn, whether that's HR, leaders, managers, coaches, just people in positions that have an opportunity to be compassionate and empathetic to people. Be patient. This is going to be a new norm for all of us, and the way we adjust will be different for everyone. So I hope this video has been helpful. Maybe it's helped you think about the way people have responded on your team as you've continued to implement changes. Get clarity, ensure that everybody understands the expectations, but continue to create a platform so that people can share how these changes are affecting them and how it makes them feel. Again, we care about our people. We have to get the work done, but figuring out how to have harmony there, right? Because there's no such thing really as balance. There's no 50-50, 100% of the time. So how do we create harmony? And I think if we can do that, we set ourselves up to being the type of organizations and leaders that people want to work for. So thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you have a great day. I can't see the comments because this is used through a third-party source, but I will respond accordingly. Take care, have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye.